I don't know who needs to hear this, but if you lose weight but gain disordered patterns around food, you still lose. Weight loss is not the answer, right? Don't get me wrong. There is nothing wrong with wanting to lose weight and feel better and look better and all those things. But if you gain all this suffering on the other side, you still lose. So if you're feeling heightened levels of resistance, that's incredible. It means you're almost there. So don't stop. Don't take this as a sign of, oh, I'm not supposed to make it. No, resistance is required. It's supposed to be there. The truth is, to get to where you want to be, you don't have to do as many things. You should only be changing 1 to 3 habits over any given period of time for most people. You just have to be way more consistent than you think, and you have to do these things for much longer than you think. I don't know who needs to hear this, but this is your reminder that if you can't be consistent, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new episode of Dieting from the Inside Out, because we all know outer work without inner work simply doesn't work. And we have to diet from the inside out first before we diet for real. And in today's episode, it is a solo episode. So it's just me. Now, I'm going to try to keep this a little bit more condensed, so it's not just me rambling. But I've noticed for some of my most popular content that seems to resonate a lot, I was just looking at stuff, and it's these little bursts of powerful nuggets where I usually say, hey, I'm not sure who needs to hear this, but then I drop the bomb. And I find that those little pieces of perspective shifts are oh, I didn't know that, or oh, I've never heard it that way before, are really helpful. So I decided to put 10 of my most popular ones together, 10 of my best. I'm not sure who needs to hear this, but blank. This way you can lose the weight you're trying to lose, keep it off forever, never have to worry about it coming back, and live this happy, amazing life that you're striving for. So that's what we're going to get into today, is all of these 10 little powerful nuggets that you guys have shown with my other content that seems to hit home pretty well. So I'm going to do them here as well. So before we get into that, be sure and subscribe if you have not already, because I've got a lot of cool stuff for you. And if you aren't subscribed, you will miss out on all the gold, right? So the other thing is this. I just have one ask. And my ask is, will you please share the show? Because here's the thing, is if this resonates with you, it's going to resonate with someone else. If you listen to an episode and you're like, it's whatever, that's not that great, that's fine. All I ask is, if there's an episode that hits home with you, share that, whether it be on social media, on your Instagram story, or just sending it to a friend that you know is struggling with this stuff as well. Because here's the thing. Diet culture is still rampant. It's still hurting people. It's causing disordered patterns in life. It's still destroying people's or continuing to perpetuate and destroy families' households because of the generational diet culture trauma and bullshit and all these things. And all it needs is one person to come in and be the change and the move that completely affected the entire family's history forever. So I ask that you not only be that for your household, but share the show so you could be the catalyst that caused that to get to someone else. Because all it takes is one little piece of awareness that's implemented and everything changes. So you never know how far your one share is going to go. So that's my one ask. But otherwise, let's get into it. I have my 10 things written out here, but otherwise that's it. So let's dive in. So number 1, I'm not sure who needs to hear this, but eating your favorite foods does not inhibit fat loss at all. Look, it blows me away sometimes that it is, at the time of recording this, 2024, and people still think sugar is the devil, carbs store fat, or I can look at bread and gain weight, where it's no, it's not how that works. Or a lot of people think that just eating certain foods, even in a calorie deficit, if they eat processed food or they eat, cake or whatever the case is, will somehow still fuck with fat loss. But that is not true. That goes against the laws of physics. I know you may feel like you look at bread and gain weight, but that's not fact. Okay. So my thing is this is you have to understand that if you are eating your favorite foods, I don't care what they are. They could be candy, cake, fried foods, sugar, doesn't matter. Within moderation, inside your calorie deficit, you will lose weight and move towards your goals. It will not inhibit fat loss whatsoever, because unfortunately we live in a day and age where anything of these buzzwords, insulin, cortisol, adrenals, and all these things make people scared shitless to eat their favorite foods. But the problem is when we restrict our favorite foods, most people will end up binging on those foods. So that you're going to end up having them either way. Why not have them when you want them in moderation on your watch and enjoy them, instead of build while your kids are watching it happen. And then you have this big binge eating explosion. I don't want that for you. Okay. So for this is, you have to understand that eating your favorite foods in moderation within your calorie deficit, whether you're counting or not, will not inhibit fat loss whatsoever. Now, here's the thing. Usually right about now, some internet asshole or some like keto zealot or a person who's like planted their flag in their political side of diet culture will go, no, so you're just saying I can have just all the Pop-Tarts and gummy bears every day in my calories. I'm like, well, you technically could, but that's still not sustainable either. But the thing is, no, that's not what I'm saying. Because every pendulum swings the other way. So one of the worst things that you can do is approach any of this in an extremism fashion. I think you should still have the majority of your calorie intake, better quality, more nutritious, whole, real foods. But that does not mean you have to be an all or nothing extremist and literally act like sugar's the devil and skip cake on your kid's birthday. And when you're like, man, I just want a few Oreos, to not have your Oreos. You see what I mean? So don't take it to an extreme either way. But the big thing is, I don't know who needs to hear this, but eating your favorite foods does not inhibit fat loss whatsoever, as long as it's in your calorie deficit in moderation. Okay, number 2. What's funny is I actually recorded this yesterday, but I had the wrong mic selected, so it fucked my audio all up. So I'm trying not to be quite as long-winded as I was yesterday. So, all right, number 2. I don't know who needs to hear this, but resistance is required. Listen, anything worthwhile that you're going after, whether it be a marriage, a relationship, like a major goal, a career change, it doesn't matter. Fat loss, you're going to experience resistance. You have to understand that the mind craves what's most familiar, right? So when something is away from that familiar, your brain views it as death because it doesn't want to see you fail. It doesn't want to see you get hurt. And you have this like lizard brain that is making it feel like that anything other than what you've been doing is harmful to you. Your brain only cares about self-preservation. It does not give a fuck if you're happy. Let me say that again. Your brain does not care if you're happy. It only cares about self-preservation, even if it's at the expense of your happiness. You may literally have been living in suffering the last 10 years, and your brain in a weird way wants you to stay there because at least it's predictable. At least it feels like home. At least you know what to expect, because the thought of going over here to be healthy, wealthy, happy, confident, and live the life of your dreams, that proverbial stove might be hot, so let's not touch it. That's the way your brain works. So this is why there's resistance. But here's the problem. A lot of people think just because they experience resistance, internal resistance, they're not motivated. They know what to do, but don't do it. They always feel like they should be further ahead. They struggle. These changes are hard. They're not always feeling inspired to do the thing, whatever. That's supposed to be there. It's genetically encoded in you. That actually tells me that you're in the right spot. I always say for myself, if I'm experiencing resistance with anything, I need to lean in. I don't take it as a sign that I'm not getting there. Or maybe God hates me. Maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe it's not meant for me. No. The resistance is a sign that I'm close. Let me give you an analogy. Actually, I'll give you 2 analogies. I heard this one recently. Think of a caterpillar. We all know caterpillars eventually turn into butterflies. And it's part of the biological process of this bug. Is caterpillars do caterpillar things for however long, and then one day comes, they build their little cocoon and they turn into a butterfly. It's not quite that simple. So the caterpillar is out doing caterpillar things, and the cells in its body that turn it into a butterfly lay dormant. They're in there. They're just not doing anything. They're dormant cells until the day comes where the butterfly cells wake up. And then here's where it's crazy. Once the butterfly cells wake up and start doing things to start the butterfly process, the cool part is, or the interesting part I should say, is the caterpillar cells resist. They fight the butterfly cells. They don't like the butterfly cells in their changing and transforming. The butterflies or the caterpillar cells literally fight and resist the butterfly cells. But eventually the butterfly cells win. The caterpillar cells resist and they die eventually. And then the transmutation process starts where now you have a butterfly. But here's where it gets interesting. The resistance that's encoded inside the caterpillar, it's supposed to be there. And here's the thing. If there's resistance for a fucking bug that does not have an intellect, that just does what bugs do, you are a higher level being that has an intellect and a thought process and all these different things. You don't think it's going to be there for you if this resistance is there for a bug? Think about that. Like it's like break it down this way. Like step 1, caterpillar, do caterpillar things. Step 2, butterfly cells turn on. Step 3, caterpillar cells resist butterfly cells. Step 4, transform into a butterfly. Like it's supposed to be there. Excuse me. So if you're watching this, you're probably let's just say you're a caterpillar right now and your butterfly cells have turned on. Look, you don't listen to a podcast called Dieting from the Inside Out without having some butterfly cells turn on. I'm just being honest with you. You would not be here if your butterfly cells were not turned on. You would think this is hopey dopey, airy fairy bullshit. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. You would have shut this off a long time ago. So if you're watching this, you're either A, probably a butterfly, or B, your butterfly cells are turned on. And if you're struggling right now, you know what to do, but don't do it. You struggle with motivation. You feel like you should be further ahead. You just feel like you can't get the hang of this. That's okay. That is your caterpillar cells trying to fight the butterfly cells. So don't stop. Keep letting your butterfly cells fight back, and they'll eventually win. You keep doing this work. You keep showing up, and your caterpillar cells will relent, and you will turn into the butterfly that you're trying to be. Okay. But I'm telling you, this is why this is probably one of the most powerful ones on this list is resistance is always required. Do not take it as a sign something is wrong. A personal example for me was in jiu-jitsu. You guys know I'm a big jiu-jitsu guy. I'm a purple belt now. And I remember when I was in my like mid to late white belt, I was rolling with my professor, and all of a sudden my professor turned it up a whole notch and beat the living shit out of me. Not like hurt me, but before he wouldn't have to work that hard. But then out of nowhere, he just kicked it up and like just whipped my ass like crazy. And after the match was over, I'm like, where did that come from? And he goes, oh, you almost had me. I actually had to fight you now. And I went, whoa, hang on. Because I was new. I was just a little white belt. Whereas my professor, my coach, he didn't have to fight me. He would just let me work and do my thing, and I was not a threat to him. But over the course of getting better and better and better and better, then all of a sudden, one day he turned it up, and he never turned it back down. From that day forward, he never turned it back down, because when I go, where did that come from? Like this was this higher level resistance. And he goes, oh, you almost had me. I had to actually fight you that time. I actually had to fight back. So I could have done two things. I could have gone, I'm never going to get ahead. As soon as I start doing well, my coach beats me up even more. But I didn't. I went, oh, when coach fights back, I'm close. I got excited when I saw that. When that new level of resistance came, I got excited because I literally made the meaning association of that means I'm close to winning. That means I'm close to catching coach. And guess what? Pretty shortly after that, I finally caught my coach in a submission, right? So it's one of those things. You're no different. Yeah. You're in the same shoes. When you're feeling this resistance, it's because your pattern of sabotage, your pattern of caterpillar cells, your pattern of old self, the ego, whatever you want to call it, is dying and it's fighting back. I was literally just talking to my therapist about this today, where it's a thing when it comes to the ego, old paradigms, the old self, whatever we want to call it, it's losing and it knows it's losing. So it's throwing the kitchen sink at you and everything. So if you're feeling heightened levels of resistance, that's incredible. It means you're almost there. So don't stop. Don't take this as a sign of, oh, I'm not supposed to make it. No, resistance is required. It's supposed to be there. If you want to get to that next level, whatever it is for you, freedom around food, freedom around yourself, self-awareness, loving the way you feel, being confident in your own skin, it doesn't matter. You're going to experience resistance and lean into it. Okay. All right. I'm not going to try to take as long on the rest of these as that one, but I wanted to really lean into that one. All right. Excuse me. Number 3, I don't know who needs to hear this, but to get where you want to be, it doesn't require as many habits as you think, but it does require more time and consistency than you think. Look, the truth is I've been coaching people for, 13 years at this point, at the time of recording this. So a long time, which means I know exactly what it takes to get results and keep them. And to be honest, with the place I am in my career, people don't dabble in come working with me. The people who work with me, to be honest, I'm the person people come to when they're like, I have to do this. I need help now. I'm ready to do this. People don't come to me like dabbling. Let's give this a shot. I'm going to try. No. But when I'm involved, it's usually people's like they've had coaches that didn't work, or plans and programs that didn't work, or they've been dieting for longer than they haven't, and things are really bad. That's usually when people find me. And I'm blessed and very fortunate and honored to be that role for someone, their coach in this capacity. But I say all that to say this is I know exactly how to create results, duplicatable results, not just like, I can get someone with good genetics results or this random case. It's like, no, there's a reason I can create, duplicatable success with everyone who comes my way, who shows up on their end of the bargain and does the work, is because I know what it takes. And the reason I think this one hit hard so much when I posted it is It's the truth. To get to where you want to be, you do not have to do as much as you think you do. You just have to be consistent, more consistent, and for longer than you think. I truly believe that a lot of people, the reason they try to go too fast or try to do too many things is because they aren't consistent or patient enough with the things they are doing. I would rather see you do 3 habits for the next year than to do 20 habits in the next 3 months. Because the truth is, most people, the reason they aren't where they want to be is because they're not doing the things long enough and consistently enough. I have conversations with people all the time who are like, Jared, I'm doing everything right, but I'm just not there. It's like, no, then that means you aren't doing everything right. Most people say I'm consistent, but then they fall off Friday through Sunday, but that's 42% of your week. How is being 42% off consistent? Or someone say, I should have made more progress by now, but it's been like only 3 weeks or 3 months even, right? Most people overestimate what they have to do and underestimate how long or consistent they have to be. And it's no different with you. This is why sustainability is the game. It's why there's a filter that I use with clients. What I call a mental filter is if we can't do what we're about to do for the next 10 years, you shouldn't do it for the next 10 days because there's no reason to do it. It's worthless because if you can't do it for 10 years, you may get results with it for a few months at a time, but then you'll fall off and gain all your weight back. And it causes more mental and emotional and physiological damage. And I don't want that for you. So the truth is, to get to where you want to be, you don't have to do as many things. You should only be changing 1 to 3 habits over any given period of time for most people. You just have to be way more consistent than you think, and you have to do these things for much longer than you think. Think about how long it took you to get to where you are right now. Think about how long it took you to get out of shape, to gain the weight, to have the bad relationship with food. I'm guessing years or decades even. It's going to be the same thing the other way. Here's the cool part. If you do everything right, it's not going to be equal parts. If you've been out of shape for the last 10 years, it will not take you 10 years to get back. You'll be a different human in 1 year. But notice what I said though, like 10 years to 1 year to one, that's fast as fuck, but it's just not Amazon Prime. Everyone wants Amazon Prime fat loss results, and it's just not how this game works. So that means like the very beginning of this, to get to where you want to be, you don't have to do as many things as you think. You need to do a few of the right things, 1 to 3 of the right things, but then it has to be more consistent and longer than you think. Now, as far as you may be saying, well, Jared, what are those things? Well, that's individual. Like some people, like just from a client perspective, some people I start with nutrition, some people I start with food relationships, some people I start inner work, some people I do a combination of both. It just depends on who's in front of me, right? So as far as what those things should be for you, I don't know yet. I need to know you more. And if you want to know what those exact things should be, you should apply for coaching with me. There's a link in the description somewhere. But otherwise, all those are individual. Okay. So next, moving on. What time we at? 17 minutes? Okay. So I don't even know what number we're on. Wow, words are hard. I don't know what number we're on. Okay. I don't know who needs to hear this, but just because you feel like you're doing everything doesn't mean you are. That one's a hard one to hear for some people. We have to separate what we feel from the truth. Here's the thing. Feelings feel really, really real. So all feelings feel like truth, right? And it's true. You feel those things in your body, but that doesn't mean them true in reality. This is why we have to be careful not to believe everything that we feel. If you don't believe me, imagine if your daughter came to you and said, "Mommy, I feel like you don't love me." Let's say you took a toy away from your daughter, or from your daughter that was dangerous. Let's say it was something around an outlet, or let's say she was going to go plug something into the wall and she's not of age yet, and you took it away and said, no, we don't plug this in. And she goes, "Mommy, you don't love me." She feels like you don't love her. Are you going to say, "Yeah, honey, you're right. Mommy doesn't love you"? No, you took the plug away because you love her. So those feelings are true. I mean, to be honest, they're wrong. And a lot of people cause themselves unintentional suffering in this wonderful world of weight loss because they feel like they should be further ahead, or they feel like they should have made more progress by now, or they feel like whatever. The thing is, this is where we have to go back to the facts. What does the data say? Look, I've been coaching people for a long time. And like I said, I know exactly how to create results. And to be frank, I'm really good at it. But because a lot of results and process of getting the results the right way goes against someone's old patterns and conditioning, it triggers other feelings. For example, I don't let my clients starve. I don't let my clients do trendy diets. I don't let my clients negate their own progress because they want to be further ahead. I don't let any of that stuff happen. So with that being said, it's going to trigger and make other feelings come up, right? If you spent your whole life trying to starve yourself to weight loss, and then I'm having you increase your calories for weight loss, of course you're going to feel like you're gaining weight. You're going to feel like you're going to get fat. You're going to feel triggered, right? If you've always suppressed your emotions and hid them from yourself or hid them with food, and I'm having you hold space and heal your relationship with yourself and with food and stop your coping mechanisms, of course things are going to feel like they're spiraling out of control when they're not. It's like you spent your whole life crossing your arms one way, and now you're crossing your arms the other way. It's going to feel often triggering. So in the world of weight loss, we can't believe everything that we feel. We hold space for it. Yes. We think it. Yes. Yes. All feelings are allowed here. But just because you feel something doesn't mean for it to be true. So this is when we go back to data. That's why this one is, I don't know who needs to hear this, but just because you feel like you're doing everything right doesn't mean you are. Data shows that. I've had clients who say, I'm doing everything right, but they're skipping check-ins. Or I've had people say, I'm doing everything right, but they fuck off on the weekends and don't realize that's like Friday through Sunday is 42% of your week. Well, if you're good Monday through Thursday, but then Friday, Saturday, Sunday is like a heyday, that's not doing everything right. Right? You have to understand your mind is really powerful. It can either be your greatest asset and ally, or it can cut your own throat because of how this game works. I've had people literally go from love handles to abs, double chins to jaw lines, from big muffin tops to flat stomachs with loose jeans. And in their own heads, they go, no, I just feel like I should be further ahead. Oh, I don't see it. I've had people lose 100 pounds and say, I just still feel fat. I still feel like I haven't made it. Which is why we honor those feelings. We allow them to be here. We hold space for them. We breathe through them. We welcome those messengers in, but we don't believe them to be true. If we had a world where we had to make all feelings law, we would live in chaos. Imagine the child analogy. I feel like you don't love me, mommy. Okay, mommy doesn't love you. You're right. Holy shit. Like, that would not work. Go to the bank. Hey, I feel like I have $1 million in my account. Oh, yeah, our computers must be wrong. Right? That would be chaos. So it's the same thing here. So this one is, I don't know who needs to hear this, but just because you feel like you're doing everything right doesn't mean you are. We need to actually look at data and see what it says. All right, next. Oops, I hit the wrong button. Okay, this is a good one. I don't know who needs to hear this, but effort doesn't work anymore. Working harder is not the answer. Now, let me preface it with this. Of course you have to work hard. Of course you have to have some semblance of effort, but we are in a consciousness around weight loss where we do not just effort through things anymore. The era of eat less, move more, work harder. Oh, I'm not where I want to be. Eat even more less, work even harder, take all these pills, force fat loss. I'm not good enough, so I've got to earn being good enough. That shit is gone. We do not do that anymore. Effort doesn't work through this anymore. This is why you may be feeling it. You may be going, wow, I used to work out every day, but now I work out every day and it doesn't work. You know what? I used to just starve myself and and now it doesn't work anymore. Or I feel like I have to like get under 1,000 calories a day for me to even see the scale move at all. Okay, I guess I better do it. No, stop. That's not how this works anymore. There's a reason effort doesn't work anymore. There's a reason forcing this doesn't work anymore. There's a reason it's actually something you should be excited about. You should be excited that the old way doesn't work anymore because now you have to do it in the right way. I'll take it a step further and say, I'm not convinced it used to work either. I'm convinced that if it used to work, but now it doesn't, it didn't work. Notice anything else that works in life isn't like that. Gravity didn't used to work, but now it doesn't work. Gravity's always worked. You know, it's those kind of things. This is why we need to be principle based. Think of it this way. If you had a home built and all of a sudden your home crumbled in on itself within 2 years, was it a successful home build? No, it failed because it crumbled in on itself, even if it was 2 years later. Right? When we buy a house or you're living somewhere, you want it to last the test of time. You want it to last like a century, right? Well, it's the same thing here. So like, almost think of it this way. Like, let's put effort on trial. Let's put it on trial. Like you may be like, oh no, I feel like I have to force that. But it's like, let's put it on trial. How's it working? How's eat less, move more going for you? How's racing your calories to the bottom working for you? How's working out every single day and getting rid of your favorite foods and walking around with disordered styles of food and a horrible relationship with food and setting up your family for generational diet culture trauma? How's that going for you? It's not. Like, let's look at, again, it's a feeling, like going back to the last one, stop basing this on, well, I feel like, no, I feel like it should work because it used to work. No, it never worked. You just got away with it. right? You just got away with it. Otherwise, it's never worked. So you have to understand that with this new era and this new consciousness around all of this stuff, effort doesn't work anymore. Nika, you need to lay down. I don't know if you're watching the YouTube, but you can see my shepherd popping her head up. Lay down. Hey, lay down. So effort doesn't work anymore. Not in this. I've been talking for the last several weeks about this new era concept, and that is one of the pieces of the new era. Effort doesn't work anymore. We have to go inward. Again, don't take this out of context. Don't take this out of context. You don't get to sit around and do nothing and get all the results you want. You still have to put effort. You still have to show up. You still have to be consistent in your actions. But the era of we're just going to like force this thing to happen. Oh, I'm not losing weight fast enough. The scale didn't move. I'm going to cut carbs to bypass it. I'm going to just deplete my water. I'm going to just do unsustainable things. Oh, you know what? I can't have one without eating the whole pack. So I'm just going to avoid the whole thing. No, we need to heal through that. We don't effort through these things anymore. Okay. Moving on. This is a good one. I don't know who needs to hear this, but time and randomness are undefeated. So I need to give credit to a good friend of mine. His name is Mike Milner. Actually, I think this last week we did a podcast together. But Mike Milner is an amazing coach that talks about this inner game and mindset and psychology a lot. But one of the things he said on our episode was this concept that time and randomness are undefeated. And I thought it was just so beautifully stated because with all of this weight loss stuff, a lot of times we're trying to win the battle with randomness and in time or lack of time, right? How many times have you said, oh, I want to wait till life slows down. I want to wait till the timing is better where I'm not in school or I'm in overtime this week or we're coming up into the holidays or things are just kind of all over the place. Now is not a good time, whether it be to work with a coach, whether it be to start a plan, start investing in yourself, start showing up in your actions, doesn't matter. But how many times have you used time or lack thereof or randomness or things are just too crazy in order to like delay the actions that need to happen? We've all done it, myself included, but not anymore. But you have to understand this. If you've been the kind of person, or even right now, if you're the kind of person who does that, it's not a good time, timing's not good, timing will never be good and randomness is never going to not happen. But here, let's just play devil's advocate. Let's say those did. Let's say you waited till timing was better and randomness wasn't happening, and you got started working with a coach, started getting your shit together. If you waited till time got chill and calm and cool and collected, well, you're basically saying when life does get crazy again, you're just going to quit and fall off. So my question for you is: do you only want to be able to hold your results and make results when life is cool, calm, and collected? I'm guessing not. Like imagine hopping on a plane where the pilot's never seen a storm before, or going on a cruise and the captain's never had a storm in the water or big waves. I wouldn't feel very good about it. Literally, it wouldn't make me comfortable. But that's the thing with my clients is I have clients who will want to hold off on coaching. They're like, yeah, you know what? Let me wait to get started until after vacation or after the holiday season or after whatever. And I go, well, you're going to miss out on all those skills we're going to build. And they go, what do you mean? I go, well, I think those skills I said in the future, are you going to need to know how to navigate vacation, how to navigate the holidays, how to navigate work seasons and busyness? Are you going to need to know how to navigate these seasons in the future? Well, yeah. Well, then wouldn't it make sense for us to get started during the craziness so I can teach you and we can together work through these so you become what I call bulletproof? And they go, oh, I never thought about it like that. And this is when I've had client interviews where I think back to the first one that comes to mind is the interview I did with Tracy, and where she had 3 vacations or travels in 3 months and weekend events with friends and family and her kids in travel hockey, and she's in menopause. And she couldn't get anything figured out. And she's made more progress in 90 days than she had in the last 9 years. And it's because she got started when things were crazy. And her and I had this same conversation. She wanted to wait. And I go, well, don't you need these skills? Well, yeah. Well, wouldn't it make more sense to get them now? I can tell you right now is in every area in my life, I love getting skills for my marriage, in my business, in my own fitness when life isn't so easy, right? It sucks. It's not comfortable. I'm not going to lie to you, but you're going to need them, right? So this is why you need to be excited to implement things when life is not so convenient. Because if you wait till life gets convenient, you're going to quit whenever life gets inconvenient because time and randomness are undefeated. Okay, moving on. I don't know who needs to hear this, but you shouldn't weigh what you did back in high school or college. Look, I know so many people who unintentionally bring so much suffering on themselves because they compare their life or their physique or their weight to what it what it weighed back in high school and or college. And the thing is, that is the most out of context thing ever. People say, well, I just want to weigh what I weighed back in college. Well, but here's the thing. Your life is in a whole different place. You have a different priority list now. Your mindset's in a different place. Your body metabolism's in a different place. I mean, fuck, every cell in your body replaces like every 7 years or something, right? So like not even any, like if you're over 27 years old, every cell in your body's replaced itself since then. So we can't compare to back then. Also, I don't know about you listening to this, but most people I talk to who like to live back in the days of like, well, I want to weigh what I weighed back in college or high school. Well, most people I know who say that had, just being honest, a borderline eating disorder in high school or college, or they were so broke that they never went out to eat, never had a social life, or they had 2 or 3 jobs running around all the time. So everything's in a different place completely. So stop comparing to back then. You guys, we should never compare ever, because anytime we compare, you're just bringing suffering into the picture. But also that means you're not being present with what's now. I'm not trying to sound airy fairy. This is tactical. If you compare, you're anything but where you're right now. You're like, well, I feel like I should look like I did back then. Well, says who? According to what? Why? What basis do you have to say that? Like, let's put that on trial. What if you just look in the now and go, well, what do I want now? What do I want to feel like now? How do I want to show up for myself now? Who do I have to become now? Stop comparing. Stop living so much in the future and go into the past. We have this addiction to like going to the future or living in the past, and it kills what's now. And now is the only place you are and can actually make a difference in. Okay. Moving on. I don't know who needs to hear this, but your food choices shouldn't change whether you're dieting or not. Just portions do. If you have a list of diet foods and a list of normal life foods, this is why you fail and yo-yo the same 20 pounds for 20 years. So what's funny is I actually made a post on that several months ago, and half the comment section was like, oh my gosh, Jared, this makes so much sense. And the other half was like, no, you're wrong. And they were all pissed off, which means it was the perfect piece of content. But you have to understand that I don't care what it is. You should not have a segmented list of here's my diet foods and normal life foods. Because what happens when you quit dieting? You're going to go back to normal and then you're going to gain all your weight back. That's the problem. This means, because here's the thing, people take anything on the internet out of context, but that essentially means that like whenever you're approaching food, if you live in that mentality of here's my diet foods, here are my normal life foods, that means your normal life foods don't have enough quality in them and your diet foods are way too restricted. So you keep bouncing back and forth between these two. This means when you are trying to lose weight, you should have more foods that you love, the cookie, cakes, donuts, cravings, these kind of things, without demonizing them, in moderation. But that also means when you're not trying to lose weight, you need to actually eat more protein, fruits, and vegetables, right? It shouldn't be this giant trade-off, because the trade-off is what swings this pendulum to like crazy clean eating and then crazy cheat meal mentality. Like that's what keeps that going. Or once I start, I can't stop. If I have one, I have all of, like that's the polarization is the issue. You need to heal your relationship with food, but also approach this in a way that's sustainable and practical. The problem is most people go, I can't stand myself. I'm going to get my shit together. And then they 180 everything. They starve themselves. They eat super, super, super clean and healthy. They get rid of all their favorite foods, and they're like a polarized political version of fat loss. And then they do that for like a little bit of time, and then they can't take it anymore. Or willpower drops, or discipline drops, or sabotage sets in, or just the human condition can't stand that mentality that long. And then because of that, you fuck up one little thing and go, oh, I've already fucked up. There's no point. Then you have what I like to call the Last Supper. And where you go, well, I'm not supposed to have these foods, so I'm going to give this one last hurrah before I go back to deprived land. Then you binge eat like a complete asshole, and everything you've wanted, you go to you go to the other polar side of all that stuff over here, and you just go batshit crazy on it. And then you feel so shitty, and then you go back to this cycle all over. Well, okay, I'm going to get back on track. I'm going to start over. And then you lather, rinse, repeat. And then that's like a weekly habit for you. All right, moving on. I don't know who needs to hear this, but if you lose weight but gain disordered patterns around food, you still lose. Here's the hard thing that most people don't realize is weight loss is not the answer, right? Don't get me wrong. There is nothing wrong with wanting to lose weight and feel better and look better and all those things. But if you gain all this suffering on the other side, you still lose, right? So what I mean is if you lose the weight, but you get mentally and emotionally broken in the process, or you lose the weight, but you gain like fear around food and you feel like you're incarcerated by food and the food noise and cravings in your head are just so loud, you still lose. And you're going to end up losing the weight loss too. You're going to gain it all back. Think of it. This is kind of a way a mentor might put it in place. Like you want freedom. So like you're in this cage, but when the door's open and you can just come out. Same thing with food freedom. You just want free around food and losing weight. But the problem is if you lose the weight, but keep your food restriction and you become disordered around stuff or mentally and emotionally broken, you are still in the cage. The cage is just like gold plated. It's prettier. You still lose. You're still in the cage. I've seen so many people when coming to work with me, they talk about how in the past they've lost all the weight, but then they were petrified of gaining it back. And that's still living in terror. That's still living in mental and emotional incarceration. Or they lose the weight in a way that's unsustainable as fuck, but now they are binge eating really bad, or now they starve themselves every day, or they work out every day to make sure they don't gain anything back. That's no way to live. You don't want weight loss. You want weight loss and freedom, where you can go through life with your results and love the way you look and love the way you feel. And this is just who you are now. This is the thing is you can't do that while enabling all these bad behaviors. Okay. So again, if you lose the weight, but gain disorder, you still lose. Okay. And finally, the last point on this whole podcast is, I don't know who needs to hear this, but this is your reminder that if you can't be consistent, that's your sign to scale the plan back, not add more stuff. What I mean by that is us humans, I don't understand because this defies logic, but as humans, most people will not be consistent. And because they're not consistent, they add more habits they can't be consistent with, right? That's like you can't, let's say your only habit is tracking calories or eating 1,800 calories a day. So you always go over your calories. So you go, well, I'm going to go to 1,600 and be really serious. Well, like, no, if you couldn't stop at 1,800, dropping to 1,600 is not going to help you. Or if you have a list of 3 things to do, I want you to, let's say, track your calories, track your protein, and strength train. And you can't do that consistently. So people will go, well, I'm going to track all the macros and add 4 days a week to my strength training and add this morning routine and take all these supplements and drink all this water. And it's like, well, hang on. If we couldn't do 3 things, why are we doing 7 things? But that's what people naturally do. It's almost like if we add more, we're more serious. It's not the case. When you struggle showing up, we have to scale backwards. If you struggle showing up for yourself, we have to scale backwards. If you can't show up doing 3 things, you go down to 1. If you can't keep your calories reined in at 1,900 or whatever, just arbitrary numbers, do not drop them to 1,600. If you can't walk, you can't run. Like imagine a child trying to go from crawling to climbing. It doesn't work. They go from crawling to walking to running, then climbing. So we can't skip the order here. And if you find yourself like consistency lacking, we need to go, why is this lacking? Maybe you're on the wrong plan. Maybe it's not practical, simple, or sustainable. Or maybe you're just doing too much shit. Most people by proxy do things way too many. Wow, words are hard. Do way too many things, way too aggressively, way too intensely, and with way too many expectations. We just got to scale back. And that's not a bad thing. A lot of people right about now will guilt themselves and shame themselves for scaling back. And it's like, there's no reason to. That's not how this works. Shame also never makes anything positive happen. That's an old way of thinking. And that goes for yourself included. You should not be shaming other people into changing, and you should not be shaming yourself into it. It doesn't work. But you have to understand that if you can't be consistent, we have to scale back. That's just the nature of this thing. If 50 pounds is too much, we go to 40 or 30 or 10, and then we can work our way back up. You can always work your way back up. So don't take it as an L scaling back. Because one of my biggest pet peeves is, and I'm sure you've heard this, where fitnessy people like me will say, be consistent, be consistent. You got to be consistent. Like, yeah, no shit. You're not dumb. You know you need to be consistent. I would rather show you how to be consistent. Maybe we need to have habits that aren't as strict or rigid. Maybe habits that work better with your lifestyle and schedule. Maybe that aren't as crazy. Maybe that work in your lifestyle and family life and these kind of things Or maybe we just don't do as many. You don't need to be doing all these things. People tell me all the time, they'll come to coaching and they're telling me I'm doing this and this and this and all these things with all this great intention. And I love it. And I always say they're in for a beautiful surprise, because I'm going to take away like 90% of the stuff they were doing, and they're going to get more results with the 10%. And people are blown away. They say, Jared, I feel like I'm getting away with murder. I feel like it shouldn't be this simple. I feel like I should be doing more. Meanwhile, they're getting great results, and that's how it should be. So, but otherwise, that's it. That is my list for you. That is my list of, I don't know who needs to hear this, but blank, and all these gold nuggets that you guys have found in other content so helpful. But I figured this way I could give more context to it. That way you can get to where you want to be and stay there. I'm not in the business of getting you to lose a bunch of weight and living in mental incarceration and gaining it all back. Like I said, when people come to work with me, they're serious. I'm not usually their first rodeo. They've usually worked with lots of other coaches, done all these other programs, and nothing worked. Because again, out there, everything else is telling you that it's your metabolism, that it's your hormones, that it's menopause, that it's your age. No. It's the inner game that's the problem. It's your habits that's the problem. It's your psychology that's the problem. It's your subconscious patterns that's the problem. It's your relationship with foods that's the problem. It's these deeper things. So we have to get to the bottom of those if we want to have results that last forever. So if that's you and you're like, man, I would really like to streamline this so I wouldn't have to think about it so much more, and I would really like to finally get to where I want to be because you're describing me, well, you can always apply for coaching at the link below. I'll qualify you, making sure this is a good fit, make sure that like I think I can help you and that you feel good about this and I feel good about this and everything. So otherwise, that is it for today's episode. I appreciate you being here. Before you go, I do have some stuff for you. Number one, if you want to see what the possibility of what us coaching would look like, hit the link below to apply. Second thing is, if you have not already gone through my fat loss checklist, to this day, I've had thousands of people go through it, and they tell me every day that, oh my gosh, this changed my life. I can never think about fat loss the same again. Go through it. It's a 5-day free video course called the Fat Loss Checklist. Go hit that up. What else is in there? Go check out my Fat Loss Simplified Facebook community. It's totally free, and I have there's almost 10,000 people in the group at this point. It's in a Facebook group that I run to make sure to give you content just like this. It's really helpful. And little spoiler alert, and I have not even told them this, that when I cross over 10,000 people in there, and we're almost there at the time of recording this, I'm going to do something really, really special. So you won't want to miss that. Otherwise, I appreciate you. Be sure to subscribe to the show if you haven't already. Send this to somebody. That needs to hear this. And also, if you could do me the favor and write a review, give me a 5-star rating if you feel like I deserve that, but give me a review of the podcast below. I know on Apple, they let you do it. I don't know about Spotify, but otherwise, I appreciate you being here. I love you, and I will talk to you next time.